Hey guys, it's the Prez, Lawrence Presman, co-founder of WagerTalk, Sports Memo, and the Gold Sheet. Although I did not co-found Sports Memo and the Gold Sheet. That we purchased. Ralph Michaels, how are you, my friend?
Doing great. It's been a long football season. I'm ready to spend more time on hoops, but also sorry to see the football season go. It was a great finish for me in the NFL, and I know you've been red hot as well to finish off this NFL season.
That I have, brother. 12-4 run to end the year, and I have a 5% play up on the Super Bowl for this Sunday. And we'll get to that in a second. But, Ralph, you know what football is for me? It's like Las Vegas. I really want it to start, and I equally really want it to end.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. You know, it's a long season. It's a lot of work. The dual months of, you do hockey and NBA and college and football, that's even harder. I mean, I concentrate on football and just college hoops. And yeah, when there's an overlap, it is a difficult 6-week period in there when both are going full swing.
Okay, my friend, let's talk about what we're going to do this show. I'm not going to give out my opinion on who's going to win or lose this game, nor the total. I'm going to really focus on proposition bets. Obviously, we'll talk to you about trends and angles for the Super Bowl, and also proposition bets. And I want to talk about how to attack them, give out some as well. And, I mean, listen, if anybody wants to know what my NFL play is, they got to go over to WagerTalk and purchase it, Ralph. And I do have a promo code for them. I'm on a 6-0 all sports run as of Tuesday night. I'm on an 11-2 NHL run. I'm on a 12-4 NFL run. I'm on a 12-2 all sport 5% play run. Just buy a week of all my plays. My 5% play in NFL for the Super Bowl is $40. $79 for a week of all my plays. Use the promo code PREZ79. The proposition bets I'm going to give out on the show are the ones that I've already bet. And they are the ones that you can get when you buy my package, my NFL $40 package. I am giving out bets. Every proposition bet that I will talk about, I have already bet. And Ralph, in all seriousness, I probably bet 5 times more on these proposition bets than I do on the game.
Teddy and I's WagerTalk show on Sports Grid, we have a lot of sports directors in, and, we talked, and while the volume betting Super Bowl 70 to 75% is still the side in total, 75% of the total tickets bets are props because they're having fun and people watch the game. Now, I will say this, Prez, I'm talking Joe Public people, not people that study the props, look for the value, are not afraid to bet the nose and the minus monies. People want to bet the overs. People want to bet the plus monies. Well, props are slanted for that reason. When you're looking at a person's receiving yards or rushing attempts, I guarantee you when you look at the average on the season, all of those are slanted to the overs. Why? Sportsbook directors know people don't want to go to a party and bet the under. Oh, don't score. Don't do this. They're rooting for the over, more yards, more scoring. And, you always have to think about that when you're betting those props, that there truly is a built-in edge if you just look at unders in those situations for the most part.
Yeah, I agree. And, Teddy's always been one of those guys that likes to bet the plus money props. I'm not really fussed one way or the other if it's plus money or a minus money. I'm just looking for what I think will actually happen. Ralph, what kind of trends and angles do you have for the actual game?
I don't have much. We know, looking back at the last 18 years, we know that the outright winner is 15-3 straight up.
That's somewhat irrelevant for this year because anybody who bets KC -1.5 instead of on the money line needs some help.
I don't know about that, Prez. I think there's a value to a point and a half because this game can come down. The times have changed with missed extra points.
But
where
Ralph,
you
didn't hear what I said.
You said if someone's going to bet KC minus 1.5 instead of taking them on the money line.
You have to take them on the money line, Ralph. It's minus 125 on the money line, minus 1.5, minus 110.
Okay.
You're getting 1.5 points for 15 cents. You do it every day, all day, forever.
My apologies. You're right. I was thinking you said the opposite way. So absolutely. If you're betting KC, you bet them on the money line. If you're betting San Francisco, take that point or point and a half.
Of course.
And shop. Because, right now we're taping Tuesday night. The majorities are ones. There's clearly some 1.5s. And, the total, which opened up at 51, now 54.5 and even some 55s.
When was the last 55 in a Super Bowl game? Rams Patriots? I mean, it can't be very often.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna look that up as we speak, and you're just gonna have to take over 30 seconds of talking while I type this in.
Okay, I'll give out the promo code again. Prez79 over at WagerTalk.com. You want my Super Bowl picks? Just get a week of all my plays. I'm absolutely smoking hot. I'm rolling in college basketball. I'm winning in NBA. I'm killing it in NHL. Just you guys, 7 days, all my plays, $79, Prez79. Ralph, did you find it?
I did. My database goes back to 2002 for the Super Bowl. And when I clicked the highest totals, Patriots and Falcons were 57.5. That went over the total. Patriots and Rams, obviously last year, way under the total. Colts and Saints, 55.5, under the total. Giants and Patriots, 54, under the total. And Patriots and Rams, 53, under the total. So, Prez, in the last 18 Super Bowls, there were 5 other games with a total of 50 or higher. Only the Patriots and Falcons went over the total. And this is only the second time in 20 years we've had 2 Super Bowl teams that scored 35 or more in their championships. So I think there is a clear overreaction, or at least the line is inflated a few points from the what have you done for me lately scenario.
Ralph, it's so interesting. You go the whole year and there really aren't a lot of 55s out there, nor 54s. I mean, obviously we've seen a trend towards higher totals, but even that number just doesn't really appear 5 out of 18 games. I mean, if you think about that, that's literally 3 55s a week on average. So, why? Why is the Super Bowl total so much higher on average than normal? And the answer is, as what Ralph said, people want to bet the overs. This is the one game where a lot of the smart money is finally going to be balanced by just the simple mass of volume placed on the Super Bowl. There is never any value in jumping on a situation like that.
Prez, 50 this year, 13 games have had totals of 52.5 or higher. That's it. So less than 1 a week. And 54 and higher, there have only been 2 games.
Yeah.
No, 4 games. Chiefs-Ravens, Chiefs-Lions, Colts-Chiefs, Texans-Chiefs. So 4 with Kansas City.
Yeah, and that's really my point, is that, you look at the Super Bowl, 18 games, 5 of them, percentage-wise, it's amazing. It just doesn't really happen. I mean, if this game was played 5 weeks ago, in Miami, it would not be 55.
Oh, boy, yeah. With San Fran's offense doing what they were doing, this would have been a 48.
Yeah.
Most likely. So, and you got to remember, both teams performed what they did, but they were at home. You can change play calls. You can hear the cadence. You get people off. How many offsides did we have? on fourth or third down and short or fourth down and short. Well, you know what? When you have those neutral crowds, you don't have that noise, so you can hear the cadences and you're not jumping off sides. And there is a different dynamic in the points scored from that game.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. You can find both of us at WagerTalk.com. Ralph, let's get into the proposition bets. And let me tell everybody, guys, there's really two ways to sort of attack this from my perspective. A lot of my friends and people I speak to really like to use it as a bit of a hedge. So if they like San Francisco, they do a lot of, proposition bets towards KC, and they feel like, hey, they could win it all. Kansas City could still win the game. San Fran could still win the game, and Pat Mahomes can still throw 1,000,000 yards. Or Kansas City can win the game, and Bosa can still hit 3 sacks. The other way to do it is just all or nothing. You like Kansas City, you just lay on a whole bunch of Kansas City props. You like San Fran, you lay on a whole bunch of those. I'm somewhere in between on that, Ralph. I really don't look at the proposition bets in relation to who I like or I don't like. I look at the proposition bets in relation to themselves. What was the average that Mahomes threw this past year? Is that going to happen again in this game? What is the average passing yards that San Fran let happen this year? Is that going to happen this game? That's sort of where I look. I will tell people that I always stay away from anything that is luck. I don't care how many times the coin landed on heads. It's 50-50, and I'm not paying juice. I can flip coins with Ralph right now for money with no juice involved. I'm also not interested in no safeties. There's definitely no value on that. Even at plus money, is just no value, although it has happened in recent memory. And I'm also not interested, Ralph, and I just, because basically time. I can't look at these, is LeBron James going to get more baskets than Tyreek Hill gets yards? It's too much. What's your general philosophy?
Well, Prez, I want to remind people, if, the WagerTalk Super Bowl prop results sheet is on my page, go to WagerTalk.com, go to the Ralph Michaels page, and it gives you the last 10 years of 25 of the most popular props and what happened. So at least, last year's results don't mean this year's results are going to be the same or different, but it gives you an idea of value-wise. Team to score first, will they win the game? A lot of people think that's random, but I will say this. In the last 9 Super Bowls, the team that scored first has won the game. There is a positive momentum when you come out and score. This one shocked the heck out of me, Prez. And, I talked to a lot of sportsbook guys, and they told me a couple of them actually tweaked their numbers this year because of last year's WagerTalk results sheets. The team to score last will win the game. We're so accustomed to seeing backdoor touchdowns. The team to score last has won the game in the Super Bowl 10 straight years. Last year, that prop was offered at minus 155. The sportsbook directors out here moved that to minus 195 because of the WagerTalk Super Bowl prop result sheet. They weren't aware that happened. So, like an interesting thing, will there be a scoreless first quarter? Well, I will say this. It's happened 5 times the last 18 years. It's happened 3 times the last 5 years. But what's been the common occurrence? All 5 times there's been a scoreless first quarter. It was the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick having 2 weeks for his defense to prep against an offense. So all of a sudden, you might say, wow, that happened 3 out of 5 years. But when you looked at all 3 are New England's, then it's not the same as everyone else preparing. So it goes through field goals and longest touchdowns. People think Normally, the longest touchdown is 1.5 yards, and people go, I mean, the shortest touchdown over under 1.5 yards.
That's a bet I used to make.
And, people think, oh, that's easy. It's an over. Well, it's not. You get pass interference, you're down to the 1. More than not, there's been under 1.5 yards as the shortest field goal. So it's a neat PDF to have when you're watching the game or if you're making prop bets. WagerTalk.com, the Ralph Michaels page, a free download. It's the WagerTalk Super Bowl prop results sheet.
Yeah, I mean, that is absolutely a crucial read to anybody who plans on betting the Super Bowl. And it's funny, Ralph, I used to always bet that over 1.5. I'm talking about years and years and years ago, and I never cashed it. I also used to bet, how many field goals in a game, over 3.5. Never cashed it. Longest touchdown, never cashed it. It's amazing. Now I think I've gotten a lot better. My proposition bets over the last 3 or 4 years have actually gone very, very well for me. Ralph, let's go one at a time. You go first. Give me a proposition bet you've either made or are going to make.
Well, the first one I made already was even money when it opened up. And it was which will happen first, a Kansas City touchdown or a Kansas City punt. And to me, it was a no-brainer. I think we overanalyze games. We saw KC come out slow at home 2 weeks ago. We saw KC come out slow their last game. There is nothing that's going to change my mind that says KC's going to come right down and score on their first drive this series. So I bet a KC punt, and I think there was incredible value with that.
And I really like that play because, you go back and to what you were saying with Bill Belichick having time to prepare defensively. And, I'm not comparing Shanahan and his team, but that San Francisco defense is sick. The defensive coordinator is an up-and-comer, and they do have 2 weeks to prepare as well. So, it's not only, how slow Kansas City has started the last few games. It's also coupled with the fact that they're playing a really, really good defense and potentially the fastest 7 in the league. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, Ralph. I'll tell you right off the bat my favorite prop. My favorite prop, period, is over 3.5 touchdowns. This is minus 138 over at Bet365, which is one of my go-tos. I can't see there being less than 3.5 touchdowns in this game, Ralph.
Well, that's got to be for one team, Prez.
No, it's total touchdown passes. My bad.
Okay.
Total touchdown passes. Okay. Yeah. No, 3.5, because I don't think Kansas City is going to run the ball a ton. And I think George Kittle is going to be used in the red zone a lot. I think we're going to get 4 or 5. Would you be shocked if the line read, Mahomes 2 touchdowns, Garoppolo 3, or Garoppolo 2 and Mahomes 3? That seems like a good bet to me.
Yeah, well, here in Vegas, you could bet. Obviously you're putting heavy juice, but you can get Mahomes 1.5, 2.5, or 3.5. So they have all 3 options. So they're as high as 3.5 just on Mahomes.
Right. So to me, over 3.5 passing touchdowns seems like a good call. And I actually did, just to go into another one, I actually kind of, I don't want to say hedged it because both things could happen, but I also took Pat Mahomes at plus 400 to get a touchdown. So, I thought that was a good prop bet as well. Do you have something else for us?
Yeah, he had 3 rushing touchdowns in the regular season. We saw how much he's rushed. And I think Mahomes I could see them getting down near the goal line with the defensive ends being as aggressive as they are. And doing some play action reverse where he just runs it in. And also, I think he's going to have to get rid of the ball quicker and run more often because of that pass rush. One of the ones I bet was at the Superbook. It's number 10219, over 1.5 total field goals by Robbie Gould. Now, you look at Robbie Gould, and he's only made 23 field goals. Well, he missed 3 games where they kicked 7 field goals, and that's a big part of it. And then you look at what he's done from under 50 yards, 9 of 9 from under 29, 8 of 10 from 30, and then 6 of 8 from 40 or more. He's made 2 field goals in each of his last 6 games, the last 4, and then the 2 in the playoffs. But to me, you also have to look at Kansas City. We talked about how much KC's defense has improved. KC actually finished the season number 9 in red zone defense and number 7 in goal-to-goal defense. So they stop them a couple times, you kick a couple field goals, and I think 1.5, you're kicking on grass. You kicked in San Francisco where the winds are much worse. Forecast for Miami is going to be light winds, 70 degrees. It's going to be perfect.
Yeah, I really like that bet as well. Another one that I've bet is under 244.5 rushing yards in total. Under 244.5 total rush yards. It's a -110 bet. You know, I went back and I looked at a lot of the numbers, and yeah, I mean, can we expect a lot of running from San Francisco? Absolutely. You know, people are talking about Kansas City's bad run D. Just give the beast Henry a call. Ask him how it went. He should be on the golf course because he couldn't run against them. If San Fran puts up 144 yards on the ground, which is a big number, Ralph. Let's not think that's a small number. That would require Kansas City to put up 100. I don't see where Kansas City is going to get 100 rushing yards in this game. I think we have a huge window here, Ralph. I think that is one of the best proposition bets out there.
You know, I think there's value in that, Prez, because if I look at KC's schedule, I can tell you that KC rushed for 162, 118, and 112. So they rushed for 400 yards their last 3 games. But all 3 of those were at home. It's a different scenario, being able to run the ball at home, grabbing those early leads after they came back and rushing in the second half. You know, we have one from our friend Rob Vino over at Sports Memo. Total receiving yards by Hardiman. That's bet number 10403. He likes over 26.5 yards. Going to side with Hardiman here, who's unquestionably one of the most dynamic playmakers in this year's Super Bowl. Have some real doubts about the 49ers' overall speed in the secondary. Andy Reid and OC Bieniemy look to exploit that. Expect formations for the desired matchup. Hardiman when he's in the game. Opposite Sherman, where the Niners have had some problems. In 7 games this season, he has gained more than 26.5 yards on just 1 reception, making a play where their volume may not be necessary. This type of explosive playability and solid fundamental value. Again, over 26.5, our friend at Rob Vino Sports on Twitter.
Yeah, no, I love that. And Ralph, you know, I mean, you look at those Kansas City rush yards the last few games. Man, I can't see Kansas City putting up 100 and change against that San Fran defense. They are just so fast. You know, Derrick Henry, different story. You can bowl through that defense. It's not a large defense. It's a fast defense. Kansas City doesn't have a Jerome Bettis. They don't have a Marshall Faulk. They don't have a Derrick Henry or Marshawn Lynch in his prime. They got fast runners that go to the outside. That just lends itself so perfectly for the San Francisco defense.
Another reason that is overvalued. As I said, they had 118 and 112, but guess what? Mahomes had 53 in both games. So as long as they don't allow Mahomes to get those rush yards, for the running backs gained 60 and 59 yards in the last 2 weeks.
Ralph, how many times has there been a tie in the first half of a Super Bowl?
Twice in the last 18 years.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for that bet, dude. I did it again.
And what odds are you getting?
Well, I took them both. I took tie with Kansas City at 1,600, tie and San Fran at 1,800.
Okay. All right. So, you know, like I said, I looked that up today because I wanted to see what the record was for the team trailing. And I will say that in the last 18 Super Bowls, they were tied twice. the team that was trailing at halftime actually ended up the game 6-10 against the spread. Now, that's not saying you bet them live down at halftime. That's just saying if you had the team trailing, you ended up at the end going 6-10 against the spread. And I have one from our friend Dave Koken as well. This is something we did for an article at Vegas Insider here. And Dave Koken, defense to record the first sack, the 49ers, is plus 120, which is surprising. You know, I guess Mahomes is a little more mobile, so KC's the better runner, is clearly more mobile. And I'm going with the opportunity knocks theory. Barring something stunning, 49ers are going to be running the ball as frequently as they can, while the Chiefs will be riding their arm with Mahomes. That indicates a volume edge for the San Fran defense, and chances to get to Mahomes, obviously, will be many more than KC's defense has. At a plus money, I think there's a great bit of value on the 49ers defense to get the first sack.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, that makes complete sense. And with Kansas City, it's sort of Chris Jones or bust from a sack perspective. But, yeah, I agree. And obviously, I think that Kansas City is just going to throw the ball more, and especially early in the game. Couple of other proposition bets that I have made, Ralph. Tyreek Hill over 75.5 yards. Look, can I tell you he can do that on one play? We know he can. I think basically they're going to need to stretch this defense, and they're going to need to stretch it early. If they have any plans on running the ball or using Kelsey, 8-yard slot position, they're going to need to throw a couple of bombs very early in the game. Tyreek Hill is the bomb machine, fastest player in the league. I think he's going to go off, dude. I look at that proposition bet, and I think, yeah, that's the one.
I can't argue that. I have one more that I played, Prez, and it's will San Francisco's first kickoff be a touchback or not? And, obviously we have touchback percentages, and he's about 57%. But, I think KC's not going to take the ball first. If they get the ball, they're going to defer. And I think San Francisco actually has a decent shot to take it, not give KC's offense that play on the board. But either way, at the beginning of the game at the Super Bowl, how many times do we see people so jacked up? A quarterback throws it 10 yards over. The opening kickoff, you don't want to kick to Kansas City's return men. They're dynamic.
Yeah. And they spoke about that in the Tennessee game.
You will absolutely have a touchback, and you're minus 110 on this game. So to me, again, another value bet that it may not be the opening kickoff, but I don't think it matters because when the kicker's out there kicking off for the first time, that's likely the first play he's on the field. The adrenaline's going to be flowing, and we all know how big adrenaline can really just boost your performance. Yeah. I think first play, again, the San Fran kicker will get a touchback.
Ralph, I took Mostert minus 150 to score a touchdown. I also took Kittle at plus 1,000 to get the first touchdown. Now, obviously, at plus 1,000, I'm taking a flyer. Any thoughts on those?
Well, the funny thing is, they put out without knowing Coleman. So Coleman right now is questionable. Yeah. If the Super Bowl was today, he wouldn't be playing. So you're getting, I think his numbers, if Coleman were healthy, Mostert's numbers are completely overvalued because of what have you done for me lately. But people have to remember, Coleman got as many carries than him. Coleman had 22 carries that first game in the playoffs. Coleman had 6 carries in the first quarter before he got hurt. So I can't argue that point because it looks like Coleman's going to be injured. And again, Mostert's numbers were put out without them knowing if Coleman was going to play, giving you actual value to the over if Coleman is not 100%.
Yeah. Another proposition bet that I made was over 73.5 yards for George Kittle in receiving. I think they have no choice but to go to him a lot this game. And again, like Kelsey, the man can create separation and the man can carry you down the field. Not one of my largest proposition bets, but one that I have made. As I said to you, I am only giving out bets that I have made.
I actually, we can't agree on everything we say. I think KC's plan will be to double Kittle, and that's going to be a rarity, to double a tight end. I think they're going to make Samuel and Sanders beat him. So I think, again, this is just the way I look at the game plan is going to be done. I could be totally full of crap. We never know until what happens. But I wouldn't bet Kittle. I left Kittle off the board because I think it's going to be a rare occurrence where you're doubling a tight end and you're singling receivers on the outside, and you're going to make Garoppolo beat you deep and take him out of his comfort game of passing the Kittle over the middle.
What do you think, Ralph, of the passing yards? Garoppolo, I think it's 238, and Mahomes 310, give or take. Do you have anything there?
Yeah, Mahomes has gone over those last two games, but that's because they trailed so big. I didn't bet any passing yards because they are so predicated on how the game plays out. If KC gets a 10-0 lead and they start to run the ball, boom, the passing yards goes down. If San Fran gets a 14-0 lead and KC has to throw, Mahomes can throw for 400 plus. So, again, I'm with you, Prez. I don't care if it's plus. I don't care if it's minus. But I try to take out those situations where if a team jumps out to a big lead or the other, it's going to take me out of all of them. And I try to balance it with those where it really doesn't matter who has the lead. I'm still in play on my props.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. One last question for you, Ralph, because this is a proposition bet that my friends and I talk about a lot. Team that scores 3 times in a row. How often does that happen?
Let me pull that up. It did not happen the last 2 Super Bowls. Of course, last year there was only a handful of scores anyway. But 3 or more scores, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses and 4 nos. So, yes, a team has scored 3 unanswered times, 6 of the last 10 Super Bowls, but only 1 in the last 3 Super Bowls.
Who's Sherman going to cover?
I don't know. I don't know KC's defense that well, and I think they're gonna keep. Yeah,
I think it's huge for the props. I mean, to me, I look at it and I think to myself, he's not a good matchup against Tyreek Hill because Tyreek's not a guy who's making moves. He's just running straight down the field at 100 miles an hour. And
you Sherman, put him on Kelsey.
What?
You gonna put him on Kelsey?
And then I thought he's not big enough to guard Kelsey, and Kelsey doesn't get long bombs, which left Sammy Watkins, and I would say that's a bit of a waste. So, I'm baffled. You know what? I think he's going to have. If I were the San Fran defensive coordinator, who is, by the way, a super cool dude, I would put him on Kelsey.
Well, now, you talked about. Hill missed what? 1, 2, 3, 4. Hill missed 4 games. But, Sammy Watkins got targeted 102 times. So now granted, again, Tyreek Hill missing 4 games got targeted 99 times. So,
but it's not only that, Ralph. It's the fact that if Tyreek Hill catches the ball downfield, it usually ends up a touchdown.
Well, he usually has steps on the guys covering where Sammy Watkins doesn't.
Right. Sammy Watkins is your Wes Welker, that type of a player. Not at the beginning of his career, but now. And that's why I think it would be a bit of a waste for Sherman to cover him because he just doesn't have that scoring threat. And we saw it. I mean, he scored 2 touchdowns all year, first game and last game. I think that's a super interesting question, and it will be fun to see.
Well, it's also going to depend how much they play, Hardiman, Hill, and Kelsey, that trio out there, instead of Watkins, because then that puts so much more pressure on the 49ers secondary.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. That, my friend, is not only the NFL Presidential Address for today, it's the NFL Presidential Address for the year. It's been an honor to do this with you, Ralph. We started the year with Kelly. We moved her over to Bet On It, which has become a flagship show for us, one that you are on. You sat in and have done an outstanding job all year. Your information is incredible. I learn from you every time we do this. I can't thank you enough. We're going to be back next year, everybody. Ralph and I doing the NFL Presidential Address. Have yourselves all an incredible Sunday. Don't bet what you can't afford to lose. Ralph, thanks, brother.
Have fun. It's a game just to enjoy, guys. As I said, Prez, I am not betting side or total. You obviously have a strong feel on one of those, and you have your 5% play. Good luck to you on that. But to me, it's going to be a great game. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. Haven't been to the Super Bowl, Midwest mentality. Therefore, as a fan only, I am rooting for the Chiefs because they were Super Bowl I was the last time they were there. Midwest, hardworking city. 49ers have had enough success. So as a fan, go Chiefs. I talked to Joe Ranieri daily on the college basketball tip-off show. He said this weekend it was 4-1 Chiefs fans versus the 49ers. They're excited to be down there.
Thanks, my brother. Be well, everybody. Thank you for your loyalty, your comments, good or bad. We appreciate you guys all as part of our WagerTalk family.